Now calling to order a regular meeting of the City Council, Tuesday, January 28th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Rogency,
Here.
Councilman Dwyer,
Here.
Councilwoman McGee,
Here.
Councilman Boyke,
Present.
Councilman Noonan,
Here.
Councilman Lafferty,
Here.
Councilwoman Moore. We have a quorum.
Next item.
Next item is for adoption of the consent agenda. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is adoption of the agenda. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. We have one item to add under 12D. This is a request for a 60-day extension of Madhouse LLC located at 21445 Hoover Road, Suite 210 in Warren. Their license expires on the 31st, so that's why it's being put on tonight.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 6A, calendar of pending matters. Motion to receive and file with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. I did receive some information on the Habitat for Humanity issue. I've not had a chance to look at those documents, and we'll maybe have some further discussion on that, but I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of what we got.
Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 7A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 14th, 2025. So moved.
Support Dwyer.
Discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 8A, approval of the bills of the general revenue fund. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 8B, approval of the bills of the water and sewer systems. So moved.
Support Dwyer.
Discussion? Call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is audience participation for agenda items only.
Members of the audience who would like to address the City Council this evening may do so by filling out an audience form to the right side of the stage. You have 3 minutes. This audience is for agenda items only. There is additional time at the end of the meeting for general audience. First up is Lori Harris. Good evening.
The screen's not on. You can start counting in about 30 seconds. The countdown screen.
I will,
No,
just-
it's okay. Just,
okay.
yeah. All right. I did send a letter to council. I'm a little, I know I was kind of passionate in that letter, but I'm disappointed that I didn't hear back. I talked to one person about it, but I didn't hear back from anybody. But I want to point out on 12C, this proposed resolution authorizing an agreement between the City of Warren and McCrest as a part of the CDBG program year budget in the amount of $15,000 is completely unnecessary and unacceptable. I think in that letter, I pointed out quite a few reasons why you need to ask a lot of questions about this situation. Number one, this wasn't presented 2 weeks ago at the Committee of the Whole. If this was on the table, it should have been discussed then. It's, there's some inappropriate relationships between McCrest and Mr. Deloach. There's information about Mr. Deloach that I think we have to be careful with in terms of how much we are supporting his nice endeavor. I mean, he wants to help. We all want to help. But we have to ask the right questions. And you don't just blank, just give someone a blank check, so to speak, and make them your, the person doing your work, and you don't know anything about him. Or who he reports to, or who helps him, or what. My letter was pretty self-explanatory. This is very distressing that this would happen in 2 weeks. How did it go to being written, reviewed by an attorney, reviewed by the mayor, and then sent? How does that happen? Nothing happens in this city in 2 weeks like that. Plus, there were errors in that agreement. So shame on Tom Pomerito. And I also want to beg you again, stop giving approval to these pot places because they haven't done their licensing. They shouldn't get extensions. If they can't keep track of when their license is due to be renewed or what information needs to happen, they've had long enough. Why are we giving them extensions? Make them shut down and get the right paperwork or whatever they need to do. Let them get it done on time. Nobody else gets a 60-day extension because they don't do their work. And there was somebody in the city building department who was supposed to remind them. I don't know if that person still works there, but we need to stop doing that. How many businesses do we have in the city like that? So thank you.
Thank you. Next is Zaza Booker.
Hi, I'm sorry, I think I put my name down for the wrong one. I apologize.
You can
Should I
speak
just-
at the end.
Okay, thank you.
That is the end of audience. Next item.
Next item is 10A, Fire Department Appreciation. I received a call from a resident, last week, Mr. Tim Dale, who's was very, very active in city affairs when on my first term. It was nice to get a phone call from him, and especially what he had to say. So if we could invite Mr. Dale up, he can tell you his story.
Thank you, Mindy. Good evening, council members. I'd like to share a real quick letter here with something I posted on social media, and then I tagged it in the Warren Scanner page as well. After this incident happened, I went to the mayor's office and informed the mayor of what had happened and told the mayor's office that I was not going to let this go by. I want to preach it from the rooftops. I want everyone to know what happened. And I've contacted the council office and everybody I can think of, Cable Warren. I'm not going to let this go. It'll just states, dear family and friends, Christine, my wife, and I, for the most part, keep our personal lives when it comes to ups and downs to ourselves. But I feel the need to tell a story of something that happened to us last night. This was last week. While we were at home, our carbon monoxide detectors went off. First thing I did was call my son-in-law, Devin Rice. Devin is a Warren firefighter. He called the fire department for me while I opened doors to start ventilating the house. My wife is handicapped. She uses a walker, and so it's, I have to make sure that I do things like that. Christine and I just want everyone to know how proud and thankful we are for the Warren Fire Department for their quick response. They got here, put in a fan, tested the carbon monoxide levels, and they were dangerously high. After investigating, they found out it was from my furnace. They had done a testing. They can't tell exactly, but they tested the water heater. You know, we shut one off, and they determined it was the furnace. After investigating, they found out it was from my furnace. We then shut off the furnace, and they cleared the house of carbon monoxide till the levels were near zero. You can say carbon monoxide detector saved our lives. But now, I will tell you the rest of the story. Last year, the Warren Fire Department came to our house and installed smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors for us at no cost through a government program. So we chose to believe that the Warren Fire Department and all of its employees have saved our lives. We would like to give a special shout out to Lieutenant Cam, firefighter Dane Harvey, Nate Hayward, and of course, our son-in-law Devin Rice. And of course, to everyone that took part in the installing our carbon monoxide detectors. So if you think heroes don't exist, I will gladly introduce you to a few. And I would just like everyone to know that, you know, it was stated by a couple of the fire people involved in this program that if it saved one life, it was well worth it. It saved two. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. I would just remind everyone in the audience, anybody that's watching, if you contact the Warren Fire Department, they will come to your home and install new or replacement smoke detectors and CO detectors. The number is 586-759-9320, or email at smokedetector@warrenfiredept.org. Free of charge. Yes, thank you, Commissioner. And it's free of charge to the homeowner, and the fighters will come out and install them for you. Did you want, Commissioner McAdams, do you want to add something?
Yes, I just wanted to add that the resident who just spoke, carbon monoxide in his home was 140,000 parts per million. 40 parts per million will activate the alarm. So his reading was high, and it would have been life-threatening to him and his family, probably when they went to sleep. But this program, as stated, is a free program. We work around the residents' schedule. We will come out after hours, 4 o'clock to up to about 7 o'clock, depending on how many we have to do. We come out during the morning, depending on your work schedule. The only criteria is that, one, you have to be a resident of the city of Warren, homeowner. Doesn't mean your home has to be paid off. It just means it has to be your house. And we will install them for free. This is about a $250 free program per house. The average smoke detector, high quality one, costs about $35 to $40 a piece. On an average install, we install 5 smoke detectors and 1 carbon monoxide detector. About 250 to 300, plus we get up on the ladders and install them in the correct place. So you don't have to be 90 for us to do it. You can be 20. We will install, save you the trouble. We bring our own ladders. We bring our own tools. And we'll leave your home in the same condition as when we arrived, except for the smoke detectors. So we want every citizen, homeowner in Warren to take advantage of this free program, and we enjoy going to a resident and helping them out with this situation before a tragedy happens, and it makes us feel good. And I didn't know the names of the actual individuals who responded to this incident. I was provided the basics of it, but now I know which crew to track down and make sure that they get their attaboy. And it's the Fire Inspection Division, all 5 of those employees who actually do the install. So it's a great program for the residents of Pawnee. It's not in, I'm sorry, Warren, wrong city. Used to work there. It's a great program for the residents. It's not income-driven. It's free to all resident homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think, I don't know if you were with us, Mr. Lafferty, when we went around and when the program first started, we went and helped install smoke detectors, and the people were so happy. And everybody I have run across, because a lot of people talk about getting smoke detectors. You go door to door, or people call up for something else, and they mention how nice everybody is that come and do that. And the other thing that I have to mention too, this is a little off this topic, but so many people I've talked to over the last several years have someone that they're taking care of in their home, and sometimes it's a wife with a husband that has a disability, and they have problems with falls, and they have to call so often, and they feel like they're such a burden on the department calling and asking for lift assist, and they all say just how nice the firefighters are when they come, and nobody ever acts put out or anything, and they tell them, you keep calling us. Anytime you need us, you call us. And that's so reassuring to people that are vulnerable.
Yes, we truly work for the residents of this city, and when in doubt, call us. We're coming. We come to mitigate the situation, and we do charge for services, but only what your insurance will pay, and we don't charge for a lift assist at all, $0, period. Some other communities do, but the citizens of Warren, the residents of Warren, they pay enough in taxes for quality services, and this is just one of the quality services that all the city departments provide.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to you guys and all elected officials make it possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Additional announcements?
Yep, one more. All right. Next item is recognition of police officers Brian Stanko and Chad Rosso. I think they're in the audience. So we all know how hard both our fire and police work. They are brave and work under bad situations sometimes, and they are they are called to task many times, and sometimes they just go beyond the call of duty, and that's what happened with these officers. And I am going to read this resolution, and this will explain everything that happened. Whereas the Warren City Council is proud to recognize and honor individuals who embody the highest ideals of service, compassion, and community spirit, and officers Brian Stanko and Chad Rosso of the Warren Police Department have demonstrated extraordinary care and dedication by going above and beyond the call of duty to assist a Warren resident in need. And earlier this month, Officer Stanko and Rosso responded to a call for service at a home in Southwest Warren, where they met Ms. Lillian Holt, a single mother working the midnight shift at a local factory while raising two young sons, aged 14 and 15. And Officer Stanko and Rosso, moved by Ms. Holt's dedication to her family and her struggle to provide necessities, chose to take personal action to improve her family's living conditions and ease her hardships. And whereas these officers mobilized their own friends and family to secure donations of essential furniture, including couches and a bed, and further donated their own belongings, including a king-size bed, dresser, TV, and other home furnishings. And Officer Rosso additionally reached out to Walmart, which donated a twin bed set, sheets, and other essential items, and contributed his own funds to purchase groceries for Mrs. Holt's family. And on his day off, Officer Rosso personally delivered these donated items to Ms. Holt's residence, profoundly touching her family with his kindness and generosity. And whereas the actions of Officers Stanko and Rosso reflect the highest values of the Warren Police Department and exemplify the profound impact that law enforcement officers can have on the community. And whereas their selfless contributions and humility in seeking no recognition for their actions serve as an inspiration to their fellow officers and to the residents of Warren. Now therefore be it resolved that the Warren City Council hereby proudly salutes and commends Officers Brian Stanko and Chad Rossau. Am I saying that right? Rossau?
Yes, Rasa.
Russell, for their extraordinary acts of kindness, compassion, and community service. And be it further resolved that this council recognizes these officers as shining examples of the dedication and integrity that define the Warren Police Department and extend our heartfelt gratitude for their efforts to make a positive difference in the lives of those they serve. Resolution declared adopted on this 28th day of January, 2025. So moved.
Support Dwyer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any other announcements?
I wanted to make a few announcements. First announcement was, Okay. I wanted to bring information to you regarding the Macomb Business Development. Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small business, Detroit, Southeast Michigan, are opening up for applications. This is in partnership for small businesses in partnership with Macomb Community College. This program teaches business owners with annual revenues between $75,000 and $20 million how to work on their business, and not just their business. If accepted into the program, tuition is fully paid for by the Goldman Sachs Foundation. The deadline is February the 14th, and the program will begin in May. So I left out a few flyers here at the end of the stage so you guys can have that application information, along with Macomb Business Awards. Macomb does give out business awards for every city, and this event recognizes organizations that are striving to build their workforce, expand market share, be good neighbors, embrace diversity, or start a business. So if you would like to put in a recommendation for a business in the city of Warren, you can call the number 586-469-5100. That's 586-469-5100. And that information is also at the edge of the stage. And then the last announcement is that Warren now has have a transportation program for seniors and disabled transportation services. The hours of operation would be Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. All appointments must be concluded by 2 p.m. If you go beyond our transportation hours of 2 p.m., you must make your own arrangements for transportation home. Transportation hours, again, is Monday through Friday from 7:30 until 2:30 p.m. And who's eligible? Any Warren or Centerline residents who is 55 years of age or older. All appointments must be scheduled through the transportation aide in office. Please make your request 2 weeks in advance, no days of request. There are specific numbers of appointment slots each day. Passengers must be able to get from their home to the curb on their own, and drivers are only allowed to leave the bus to assist customers on and off the lift. You can call the number 586-268-0551. That's 586-268-0551. And then my last announcement is they're having free pickleball on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. At the Owen Jacks Recreational Center. And you can call 586-757-7480 if you want to participate. And this is located at 8207 East 9 Mile Road in Warren, Michigan. Thank you.
Any additional announcements?
Madam President,
Mr. Lafferty?
Okay, the Warren Parks and Recreation is sponsoring the annual Cold Rush. That's going to be Saturday, February 8th from 2 to 8 p.m. And they'll be featuring ice skating, ice sculptures and carving, food trucks, hot cocoa and s'mores. And this all takes place again Saturday, February 8th, 2 to 8 p.m. at Warren Civic Square. It's a fun time. Always enjoy lacing up my skates and going around the ice a couple of times. Good times. Thank you.
Any additional announcements? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on. Next item.
Next item is 12A, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving consulting services agreement with Willis Towers Watson for calculation of actuarially required reserves for the city's self-insured no-fault automobile liability. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C. is yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 12B, proposed resolution authorizing quitclaim deed to City of Warren Downtown Development Authority for real property at 3637 Shaner, Warren, Michigan, parcel ID number 1311229038, consideration and adoption of a resolution.
So moved.
Support Dwyer.
Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Rogan C. is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 12C, proposed resolution authorizing an agreement between the City of Warren and McCrest as part of the 2024-2025 CDBG program year budget in the amount of $15,000, consideration and adoption of a resolution.
So moved for the purposes of discussion.
Support McGee. Discussion, Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Bomarito, Ms. Tereschenko, and Ms. Michaels, I will probably likely need you as well.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. The timing of this resolution is rather timely, but I'm failing to see how it is related to the actions we took at the last council meeting relative to the emergency, if it's tied at all to it. Can you answer that question first?
It's not tied to any of that. This allocation was made part of our budget for the 24-25 season. Our office has been in communication with McGrest for several months, working on a new contract. Part of the new regulations require the city to pay the full amount of a shelter night to the shelters. In that model, you know, it's very difficult to come up with the amount that it costs for an actual night of shelter. So we've restructured the agreement to pay for nights of shelter that are housed in a hotel, and that actual cost that is incurred by McCrest will be reimbursed by the city. So this has nothing to do with, I wasn't at that council meeting that had to do with that, but this has been in the works for quite a while, and it's a completely separate item than was addressed at the last council meeting.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
Historically, what has been our allocations from the Title I money that you receive through the city to McRest?
Title, are you talking about from CDBG funds that we
Yes.
allocate to
Mhm.
McGrest? Historically, it's about $10,000 to $15,000 that we allocate to McGrest, and we also give funding to Turning Point as well.
Right, Turning Point, St. Vincent de Paul.
Right, in terms of shelter, it would be Turning Point and McCrest, and at one time, we also gave money to MATS as well.
Okay, and so with this particular, I'm going back to the timing, because we did the allocations several months ago, so, and I don't ever recall having this come back to us later in the year.
We always get the allocation, and that's approved by council, and then after the allocation is done, an individual contract is approved by council as well.
Okay. And then, and I'm not certain if you can answer this, if not, to Ms. Michaels, the terms of the agreement in section 2 are from October 1st, 2024 to September 30th. So our current contract was up until September 30, and then we're approving contract backdating it?
Yes, like I said, we've been working with them for several months to come to an agreement on what we're gonna reimburse for. If it was gonna be, like I said, we thought the easiest route would be to take these nights of shelter that are housed in a hotel, in opposed to trying to have tons of documentation what the actual cost is for a shelter night. That would include, you know, the overhead, their staff, any supplies, all of that, and coming up with that and documenting that for HUD is very cumbersome. It's much easier to say, okay, if you house someone in a hotel, what is that actual cost and what was incurred by McRest? We can get an invoice, and we can reimburse them for those actual costs. So that's the exact same model that we use for Turning Point right now. We're reimbursing them for nights of shelter that are in a hotel. All of our shelters are pretty much at capacity, so the need is definitely there in the community.
Okay, and in terms of the contract comparative year over year, the terms and conditions of this contract versus the contract that ended September 30, were there any other material changes to it?
No, just what we're reimbursing for. Actually, the dollar amount is the exact same one from the previous contract.
I have no other questions.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Boyke?
Just to follow up on that, so you're asking us to execute the contract and so that some of the funds could be expended retroactively?
Correct.
Has any funds been paid yet?
No, the contract hasn't been executed, so no funds have
Okay.
transferred.
And why wasn't this presented at the end of the contract year for renewal?
Like I said,
I didn't hear.
we've been in discussion, like this is her shelter season. This is a very busy time for everyone, and we finally came to an agreement after months of discussion, so.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just refer to Mr. Schroeder. Can we approve retroactively?
You can approve a contract effective October 1st with these expenses to be reimbursed. Ms. Michaels, she's nodding in agreement. You agree with that. But, you know, the funds can't be spent until council approves it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes, McRest is a county-wide program, correct?
Correct.
And if we wanted to assure that the money that we're allocating was used in Warren, how would that work?
So the way that we've been reimbursing McRest is someone who is last known addressed was in the city of Warren is going to be eligible for these reimbursements from McRest, from the city.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Any additional discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 13A, Council Secretary Mindy Moore, discussion and rate council representative to serve on the ADA transition plan. Before we make a motion, if I could just explain where we're at with this. I received correspondence from Ms. Murphy, who's working on the ADA transition plan. And while it's not an RFP where a council person is required, she asked if there was somebody that was interested in serving on that. It's not necessary, no one has to do it, but if someone has an interest in being involved in that transition plan. I think a lot of it's been done and it's in the draft form, but if anybody would like to do that, now would be the time to volunteer. We'll go back.
All right,
No, we,
okay,
okay, I missed one, we'll have to go back.
I'm
Well,
willing.
Okay. I make a motion that Mr. Noonan sit on the ADA transition plan.
Support Dwyer.
Support Dwyer.
Thanks for the support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's important.
Congrats, Mr. Noonan.
And now we'll go back to 13D that I,
Thanks.
12D, which is the extension of Madhouse LLC, located at 21445 Hoover Road. Motion to approve.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes,
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C. is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 13B, Council Secretary Mindy Moore, discussion and Ray amendment to the Council Rules of Procedure, Section 2.1, the order of business, propose moving the minutes of the agenda to the consent agenda, so moved with discussion.
Support Dwyer.
Discussion. Ms.
Thank-
Moore?
Thank you. I've been watching other municipality council meetings and looking at agendas, and most of them put the minutes on the consent agenda. So I thought it would be more efficient if we do that. Of course, if somebody has a problem, we can, like any item on the consent agenda can be put on the regular agenda. Just be more efficient.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
yes,
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C. is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is C, Council President Angela Rogency, discussion in Ray, request for a process to be created for soliciting proposals from lobbying firms upon expiration of the current firm's renewal.
Motion from somebody for the purposes of discussion?
So moved.
Thank you.
support,
Thank you, Mr. Noonan. Discussion. We have had the same lobbying firm for another number of years, and there's a number of folks, I wasn't even really a part of having them come aboard. There's 4 new members that haven't had a chance to kind of weigh in on the process or participate in selecting them. So I don't know, I'm open to a process maybe from Mr. Schroeder on if it's a couple council members that look at various firms and or ask for proposals to be submitted and then bring a recommendation, including our current firm, back to the body.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Moore?
One of the things we, for the last 20 years, we've paid the exact same amount of money to lobbying firms. So there's no reason to go out for any saving of any money at all. This lobbying firm, the current state of leadership in Lansing, this firm is perfectly suited for that dynamic, probably better than anybody around. I just don't see at this point the need to go out. We have vendors that we've had for 25 years, and I just don't see a reason to make a change at this point. You know, things have changed now. We spent the last year sort of being reactionary, and I think that we're going to be doing some proactive things. You weren't at the meeting when I discussed, actually with the council about 3 weeks ago. We're going to be setting up some meetings with the lobby firm, Mr. Schroeder, and 2 council people at a time to discuss goals for next year and what we have planned, and then what the lobbyists can do for us, what we can do in the way of ordinances. I just don't think this is the time. We have a lot of things on our plate right now. We're going to be going through RFQ for, you know, legal. It's the first time in like 25 years or something. That's going to be a big deal. So I just don't see the reason to do that at this point.
Any other, Ms. McGee?
I know you said that we don't know the process. I would like to know the process before making that decision not to move forward. Because, you know, I feel as though when you stick with one person all the time, you know, we get used to that person, but we may have some cost savings, whether it be small or large. So if we're not gonna move forward, we're getting, going through a RFP process, at least help the 4 that are new that are new to understand what that process is.
Any other discussion? Okay, Mr. Lafferty, you made a motion. Is there, I would like to make a motion to assemble a committee. I don't know what the appropriate, given that it's my item.
I don't see a point of doing that at this point, but.
I do, and I am a member of the body, and I think it's not an unreasonable thing to revisit a vendor that we've had for 4 or 5 years, and to ask for there's lots of firms that work with multi-clients, and we may end up with the same firm. I don't know why we wouldn't just explore and allow 4 new members to have an opportunity to decide who's going to represent us with our legislative leaders.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Boyke.
So what you're asking us to do, based on that, is to solicit bids. Well, when you refer to the 4 new council people, I'd like to know just what they do first. I mean, I'd like to talk to them and then make that decision, not now. Because they may be perfectly what we want. And I can't go along with you on that until I at least know what the process and interview them and see what they've done for us. That's how I feel about it.
Madam Chair? I mean, that's one of the reasons I spoke about it 3 weeks ago or a month ago, maybe, doing that so that everybody knew what they could do, what they were capable of doing, what we wanted to do, how we could utilize them in that process. So, and because the last year we've been pretty busy doing a lot of other things, and we've had to take on a lot of things that, you know what situation we've been in. So I think that we should at least sit down and have a plan and talk to them and see how they can help us move the ball forward on things we want to do.
Madam Chair, just to follow up, you know, after the interview, and we could ask questions, we may agree with you and, you know, propose that. But I can't, like I said, I can't go forward now and say they're not doing their job, or we could get more, or there should be a change when I don't even know them.
I think that's a problem. We've been here for a year and you don't know them. But that's, that's here nor there.
Question.
Ms. McGee?
I want to make it clear of what you were saying, Councilman, is that once we understand the process, we can move forward with trying to put out an RFP. We may not want to move forward, but we may just want to.
Yeah, we have an option.
We have an option there. I don't want to say that we're not, once we get to know them and they can tell us how they can do cost savings and all of that, we may want to move forward once we learn what the process is.
Madam President?
Mr. Noonan?
So in order to assemble prospective people to interview, we would pretty much need an RFP first, I believe, to call, no?
No, because this is a professional service through council.
Oh.
I can tell you how we do it.
Oh, good,
How we've
please
done
do,
it.
please do.
We've done all RFQs through the Legal Affairs Committee. It's run through council office. We did legal, and we've done some other contracts and things. And, legal is different because we kind of know who we can't use because everybody has a conflict. And we did the same thing with lobbying firms. We looked at the time who was the best fit with who was in power at the time. When we hired them, the Republicans were in charge in Lansing. And so we wanted a firm that was comfortable with Republican legislators as well as the Democrats. And that was a huge point for us at that time. Then we had a short period of time because we have not, we had Art Miller before, and Art Miller passed away. And he, had a good relationship. Then we had an absolute void of, we got nothing from anybody in the legislature. Nobody, no state reps, nobody came to us. for a long time. We had no relationship at all, and so we had to have a voice. And we had a very short time where we had the change of power in Lansing. Now we're back again. So, you know, the people from Warren are not gonna have the power that they would have in the last 2 years. So it's a whole different dynamic, and I think we have to be very strategic about what we do here, because we want to be able to get the most we can. You know, we write a grant, we want somebody to go and push that. If something in the state, they can go and fight for that, they know who to go to, who's in power at the time. So, that's how we came about the firm. You know, we researched all over and talked to people and people in government and other, you know, people that use lobbying firms, so.
Madam President.
It's still on, I think.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that Council Secretary is happy with the current lobbyists and thinks that they would be good going forward at this time. I'm pretty happy with that, but if the council can have a review of what's involved in finding a new one, then we'll be more ready for the next time there's a shift in the political realm. Thank you.
Ms. McGee?
My question is, does it require a RFQ? And how long the contract is supposed to last? It doesn't require RFQ to get a lobbyist?
So my
We have
request,
the ability to enter into a contract, council does. And we can make the contract however long we can. We wish it to be.
we just renewed it for a year. I asked for this during that time, that I only wanted to renew it for a year because I wanted the opportunity for the full body to be able to be involved, and that I wasn't involved back when we hired them in the first place. I think they're great, they're great guys, but I think it's appropriate to say to a number of firms who are multi-client, they have both Democratic and Republican and independent lobbyists, they're all over Lansing, to say, what do you offer for the amount of money we're paying? We may say we can't, it's more expensive and therefore we're not going to move, but I do think these are taxpayer dollars. It's basically a salary of a person that we should be doing as much as we can to make sure that we're getting the services we're expected and that we're exploring what exists out there. I don't think that's an inappropriate request. And lobbyists pivot on a dime. The timeliness of this, the people lobby about municipal issues all day long. Switching a firm tomorrow would not change the representation we would have in Lansing or in the federal government, because it is all relationships, and most lobbyists have very strong relationships across the aisle because that's what they do for a living. So,
Madam President,
Mr. Noonan.
with your having said that, I would support that we do it the way you're saying.
I would support it also.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Boyke.
just another follow-up. Do the lobbyists write the grants?
No.
So if the grants weren't written, he doesn't have much to lobby, right?
They can lobby on legislative issues or a budget appropriation during the budget time, but otherwise,
And that's usually, through the mayor's office or administration, not the council.
correct. And it's, the lobbyist is
So
city
if,
council's
for
lobbyist.
example, Mr. Mazzarelli writes up a grant and lobbyists, they lobby for him and they try to push it, no?
They,
That's not how
no,
it works?
the lobbyist represents city council, not the administration. So I'm gonna guess Mr. Mazzarelli has probably
So-
never talked to the lobbyist. Yeah.
What I'm
it's-
trying to say is if the grants aren't written or we don't, if a grant's written, isn't that what the lobbyist is supposed to do? To lobby for it?
I mean, you're making my point is that we should have an understanding of what is being provided on a regular basis. And
Well, that's why I'd like to have a sit-down. Maybe we need more grant writers. Maybe we need to hire a grant writer.
For sure.
I read the papers, I look at cities, Mr. Councilman Newman has been with the forestry, I read about the city of Hamtramck getting $180,000 for a coordinator from the state. Why can't we get it? And if you don't write the grant,
Great point.
It's got to work hand in hand, what I'm trying to say is, and we'll sit down, like I said, we'll discuss it, and that's what we're here for. And if it needs to be changed, then, we'll take a vote however we do it, and whatever passes, we'll go along with. But I, for one, cannot, push a company out when I don't even know what the company's done.
I'm not asking to push them out. I'm asking for us to revisit and ask for other proposals or other information from firms
Right.
along with theirs, so that everyone has a good understanding of what services we're receiving and what services are offered for the money that we're paying. That's what I'm asking for.
Madam Chair? Mr. Boyke, so for instance, we are very interested in keeping local control on Airbnb, what do you call it, short-term rentals? They worked in that regard for us in Lansing. And that's a tough one to go
Madam
through.
Secretary, I apologize. I couldn't hear half of what you said.
Oh, we've been interested in keeping local control on short-term rentals, right? So they did some work trying to move that forward for local control. They watch all of our council meetings, and if they see something that comes up, they haven't, like last term, something came up about a railroad track. They were on the phone the next day, and they had the railroad people come in, and they got that fixed, things like that. And I think, I probably confused it by saying grants. It's really earmarks, probably, that Mr. Schroeder knows better than earmarks that, they go for.
It's different than a grant.
Right, I know, right, yeah. So,
Madam President?
Mr. Dwyer.
Yeah, I would suggest that we have a committee of the whole meeting with our current lobbying firm to see what they're all about, what they've done, what they've accomplished, and what they intend to do in the future. That way we can all see what they're all about, especially the 4 new ones here. That's it.
Madam President?
Mr. Lafferty.
Yeah, and council, you do receive the monthly updates, the monthly municipal updates from Capital Relations. So those are delivered to our inboxes. That gives us a list of the bills moving through the House and Senate, and any of the items they've been, involved in, anything, very keenly related to topics that are on our agendas. I've always been impressed with their work. I've talked to Shannon and the team, many times, and Ms. Moore, you brought up the short-term rentals. A lot of good guidance was provided when we were having those discussions a couple of years ago, especially when we were having problems in my neck of the woods, and they were instrumental in that respect. And I do want to clarify, Ms. Rogency, you said you weren't involved. You were involved. You voted for the contract. You did vote for the contract.
I was not involved in the selection process, is what I was trying to clarify.
Okay.
The Legal Affairs
Yeah,
Committee.
I
the
wasn't on the Legal Affairs
Right,
Committee,
we have subcommittees for things, and that's what the Legal Affairs
I
does.
totally understand that. I wasn't.
I want to clarify that this was not an arbitrary decision. It wasn't made for council. Council made the decision, and just like all of the contracts that we're supposed to vote on, even during that litigation time, we did all have the opportunity to vote on it. So that at any point that a contract does come up for this, council always reserves the right to vote on that contract. So I agree with you, Mr. Boyke. I'm all for having a committee of the whole, and meeting. If everyone has not had a chance to meet Capital Relations, great opportunity. You will be impressed. And I don't see, they've been performing very well for us. I don't see any reason to move at this point, but certainly let's have a committee of the whole, get to know them, explore all of their services, and maybe at some point thereafter, if there's dissatisfaction, we can talk through that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lafferty.
Yes, I'd certainly like to meet our current vendor. I do like the idea of going ahead with President Rogency's idea of investigating who all is out there. Let them come and talk to us, because it seems like that would be very valuable to know, even if we stuck with our current vendor.
You can make a motion, Mr. Noonan, if that's.
Okay, well,
I can't really.
Yeah, I'm willing to make that motion. I make the motion that we do just that we meet with the current vendor and that we also see who else is out there.
Second. Support.
Support McGee. I will call the question.
Point of clarification, what exactly are we voting on?
Mr. Noonan?
So one part would be we would meet with the current vendor, and the other part is we would do what Angela, President Regency is saying, and meet with the other lobbyists who are out there to find out what they have to offer, partly just to get ourselves more up to speed in what's out there, and also to know the process.
We're mixing things.
I'm sorry, Mr. Noonan, I am not clear on, we can have a committee of the whole. We certainly
Right.
don't need to vote on a committee of the whole, so I'm not, I appreciate.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
we can have
appreciate the motion,
we don't need to vote on the committee of the whole.
I'm in favor of having a committee of the
Right.
whole on numerous topics.
Sure.
I offer those all the time. What exactly are we voting on, Madam President?
That it is referred to the Legal Affairs Committee to determine how we might entertain and/or review additional proposals from firms, and that is organized by the Legal Affairs Committee, and then that's shared with the balance of council.
Something we already do, though.
Years ago, what I'm asking, I don't understand why this is like such an extraordinary request. What I'm asking for is additional transparency and to understand what exists out there. We have a duty to shepherd taxpayer dollars. I do not understand why this is like a monumental request.
Madam Chair, can I explain?
Yeah,
You know, we have vendors, we have attorneys that have done work for us for 25 years, right? We have all kinds of people, but we don't go out every 3 or 4 years and get RFQs. When somebody's doing a good job, we continue. And I think that's why I offered to have those meetings, those goal-setting meetings, you know, a month ago, you know, in fact, I just sent out to Mr. Schroeder and Mr. Price to come up with dates. But I just don't see why you change. We're not gonna get a better price, that's for sure. Nobody's gonna give a price lower than they did 20 years ago.
But we don't know that.
Oh, I can guarantee you
We
that.
don't know that. That's why I want to do it, because we don't know that. We need to know that we can get the best for our monies. If we haven't done it in years, we need to go out there and make sure that we're getting the right lobbyists. It might be this person. You guys speak very highly of them, and it may be them. But the 4 of us that are new, we don't know that.
Madam President,
Mr. Noonan.
if our current lobbyist is the best for us, which I'm imagining they are, if we go through this process, then we'll all understand that. And then we'll be able to move forward, and we'll be able to move forward better going in the future. Madam Secretary is in her last term, and we all need to try to catch up to her speed, and I think this is one way of helping to get us there. Thank you.
Madam President, if I may, so just clarity on what is being requested?
The clarity of what's being requested is that there is a mechanism that is determined by the body, whether that's sent to the Legal Affairs Committee to determine. I'm less concerned about the process. The goal would be that there are conversations that happen with various lobbyist firms about what services they provide, their pricing, that is shared with council in a report or some written communication, and then a recommendation to either stay with our current firm or select a new one is made to the body and a new vote is taken, so that everyone has a clear understanding of what they do, what services they provide, and what we're getting for our money.
Okay, and so, and I don't have the current contract in front of me, so I'm not aware of the end date or,
6 months, end of June. We have plenty of time.
okay, and then at this point, I mean, I think a motion to refer to the Legal Affairs Committee to provide the process for potential renewal and a timeline of what an RFQ would look like. And then, not part of the motion, but we'll also, I think we have the guarantee that we're going to have a committee of the whole meeting. Is that acceptable? Does that?
Sounds good to me.
Yes, that's acceptable.
Okay. Yeah, I've needed the clarity relative to the contract, because if we're somewhere in mid-contract and we don't, there are termination clauses that we have to be aware of. We have, and those are usually very specific.
30 days.
And
Either of us can cancel.
yeah, so as long as there's, you know, an opportunity there, I don't want to be in violation of that. And I want to make certain if we're going to make any changes, we're not going to protract with this, you know, process and then, oh, well, we missed it, see you again next year. All right, I just want to make sure we're doing everything in the right order.
Sounds good. I'm imagining, Madam President, that we would stick with the current vendor at least until the end of the current contract. I wasn't thinking that we would suddenly ditch them.
Correct. That's not my intention.
Okay.
So, Mr. Lafferty restated a motion, Mr. Noonan and Ms. McGee.
Discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Just for clarification, we're not voting to solicit, we're just voting to
Refer it.
a process, to initiate a process or look into a process of possibly doing that, correct?
Correct. Referring it to the legal affairs.
Referring it to legal affairs to come back with what a timeline could look like, and then certainly we can vote on that timeline on actually going out for bids. I'm happy to compromise on that. I still don't understand why this is as complicated as it is.
It's just
but-
creating what
Well,
we don't need to do.
Madam Chair, just, you know, I'm new here, and I want to learn as much as I could
Absolutely.
from them with a committee of a whole. And you're asking me to vote on something or agree with you for a process that I may not want it, or I may want it. So I think for the best interest of the 4 new council members, that we meet with the company, see what they do, you know? And in the meantime, I'll do my own research what a lobbyist could do. But at this time, you know, at a stage, I can't support that, you know, because this company may be that's all we need. I don't know that, though. I'll yield back.
So it was a motion to refer it to the Legal Affairs Committee to discuss what a procedure would be.
Yes, and that's brought back to council.
Okay. I can live with that.
Mr. Noonan and Ms. McGee, are you comfortable with that amendment?
Yes?
Okay. I will call the question. Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 13D, appointment of Michael Assessor to the Zoning Board of Appeals in the position of alternate with a term to expire September 2027.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
Discussion, Madam Chair?
Mr. Lafferty?
I'd like to introduce Mr. Assessor. He's sitting here in the middle. Very talented individual, very studious when it comes to neighborhood issues, and lifetime member of the Warren community. Will be an excellent addition to the zoning board.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Moore?
when I was on my first term of council, Mr. Assessor ran all of this. He worked for the contractor that recorded all of the council meetings, so he's certainly familiar with zoning and all the rest of the things that go on here. I think he'll be a good addition.
Any additional discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 13E, consideration and adoption of a resolution, approval of recommendation of litigation counsel and order of court-appointed special master in opioid litigation to dismiss claims without prejudice with respect to defendants of the Pain Center USA PLLC and Interventional Pain Center PLLC. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Ms. Moore?
Did you want to add anything to this, Mr. Schroeder?
Just that this is the recommendation of Edelson PC, which is the trial counsel for the city in the global opioid litigation. Most of the targets of this litigation were large pharmaceutical manufacturers. We're talking $1 billion a year pharmaceutical industries. And a lot of them have settled out with the city, which has resulted in the settlement. There are two, what we call remnant defendants left here. They're local sort of clinics that there's a discovery master in the case that's recommending they be dismissed without prejudice to sort of move this case forward. I don't know that there's been any discovery or facts developed that would allow this to move forward. So we could always bring case back against them if we want to. I also talked to local counsel, the Kirk and Huth firm on this, and they did say that we could also refer these two parties to the Attorney General's office as well for further investigation if we believe there's any issues. So I recommend approval of this. We really have to do it because there hasn't been any discovery that would allow us to move forward with these defendants at this point in time. And the other issue is there's always the issue of collectability. You know, the billion-dollar deep pockets of the large manufacturers of pharmaceuticals versus some of these local clinics that we would spend more money than we would ever get from them pursuing this.
Any discussion?
Thanks for your work on that.
Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
13F, request for a 60-day extension of cannabis license for Amber Trichome LLC, DBA Forest Brothers, located at 23300 Amber Avenue. So moved.
Support with discussion.
Discussion, Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Mazzarelli. I had a conversation earlier today with Mr. Mazzarelli relative to this item, and he had some additional comments about this relative to our motion this evening.
Good evening, Council. Our zoning inspectors were out at the establishment today. They're mostly compliant, almost ready to go. They had also a medical license as well that they've let expire. They're not interested in the medical license anymore. We did want to add a stipulation to the 60-day extension that by the end of the 60 days, they need to have all of the medical plants out of the facility as a stipulation. They were unaware that they thought they could transition those plants into the plants for the provisioning part, and they can't. So we cleared that up with them today. So we just wanted to make sure that they have those plants out of the facility before the end of the 60 days.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Lafferty.
So I will, as a part of our motion, my motion to approve, I will add the following condition, that this motion is approved with the condition that all medical marijuana plants are to be harvested or destroyed within 60 days of this decision. if the medical marijuana plants are not harvested or destroyed within 60 days, the adult use and medical licenses will be suspended until the grow establishment is rendered in compliance by the City of Warren Building Department. Is that acceptable?
Acceptable, thank you.
Okay. And I have one other, hold on, I've got one other question. One of our audience members brought up a question, and this has been asked before, so it's probably a good time to ask again. We do these quite often. There are a number of 60-day extensions. There seem to be quite a few, and the process remains largely unchanged.
So year to year, the zoning ordinances change, and the CRA changes stuff from week to week, it seems. So when we go in there and inspect these facilities, sometimes something that needs to be updated or something needs to be changed. When we get in there and it's 2 weeks before their license is due or 30 days before their license is due, it might not be time enough to get a contractor in there to make those upgrades, so sometimes we'll grant them the 60-day ordinance. On behalf of us holding their hand through it, we're making it an automated system now, so at 90 days, we'll send out an automated response that your license is expiring in 90 days, and that's the notice that they'll be given. So we're trying to move into the 21st century with all of this, so we're getting there. With the new BSNA and everything, we're working the bugs out. Everett's doing a great job in trying to get everything automated, so these responses are sent out to email addresses, and it prints out a postcard that we'll mail out directly to them. They can download the forms online, and we're doing the best we can to streamline this process. So
You answered my next 10 questions.
I was hoping to.
Ms. Moore thanks you. So, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any additional discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes, as amended.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes, as amended.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 13G, proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 38 to establish an urban forestry commission and provide standards for removal, planting, and preservation of the city's urban forest, and amend Chapter 1 to give the zoning department the authority to issue tickets for failing to comply with the requirements of Chapter 38. So moved with discussion.
Support?
Discussion, Ms. Moore.
I don't want to comment on the ordinance. I just want to commend Mr. Noonan for shepherding this through the process and really, really appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Madam President,
Mr. Lafferty?
thank you. I've been meeting every so often with Councilman Noonan, and a councilman with his heart in the game. And when you went to your first meeting and you said, I want to help the community, I want to beautify it, I want to protect the environment, this is action right here. Well done on everything you've done so far. These are great changes. I have no issue with them. I hope in the future that we can plant, 100,000 trees a year, because we certainly need them. And there are so many. We've talked for years up here about the need for more trees, the need for a better program. Sidewalk to street, backyards, front yards, where we can, and we need to do it responsibly, so that we don't repeat some of the mistakes that we've made in previous years with the silver maples and the tree roots and the collapsed drains and things like that. So I believe that this will be a good step forward, so well done.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Boyke?
I want to second that, what Mr. Councilman Lafferty said. Al, I met with you a few times, and you're very detailed in the work you did. I think I told you that. But the bigger point here is the cooperation with the administration, the city attorney's office, Mr. Mazzarelli, and other members of the committee. Everybody worked together, back and forth, and you got it done. Congratulations.
Great job.
Any other discussion?
Madam President, through the chair,
Mr. Dwyer?
to Mr. Mazzarelli.
Yes, sir.
I really only had one question, and that is, as far as the tree planting goes, will the residents have the option of saying, yes, we want a tree in front of our house, or no, we don't?
So I missed the last couple meetings, but having read through the ordinance tonight, since I spoke with, got the ordinance in hand, the last version of it. It looks like there is a couple of options for them. They will be able to say no. There is it depends on how the tree came down. If they don't have a tree on there, they're not going to be forced to put a tree down. If a tree is removed, and it depends on how it was removed or why it was removed. Certain versions, they will have an option on whether or not to put another tree there. Certainly, if it's going to be a hindrance to an elderly couple or something, we're not going to force them to have a tree there, but we'd like to get as many trees as possible to up our tree canopy.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Boyke?
Mr. Mazzarelli, one last question. Yeah, because I'm getting a lot of questions.
Sure.
I understand we got funding for trees.
Yes.
The calls I'm getting is when? When do you expect maybe to start hitting the field?
So
What
I don't
month?
know if you heard about this morning's announcement, but
Pardon?
all federal grants are put on hold for at least 90 days,
Okay.
so it's going to be a minute.
All right, so probably if it clears, it'll be end of
And
summer.
technically, we probably wouldn't do any planning until the fall anyway,
Anyways,
so.
okay, so I can at least tell them that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mazzarelli? Madam
Newman.
President, if I may. So silver maples would not be allowed, right?
No, we have our approved list, and like I said, you guys have a list on there, and I know I suggested going off the DNR's approved list for our region, but it looks like you guys added a list of our approved trees for this area.
Mainly, I think it calls for us to refer to the DNR list.
Right.
Or the Michigan MSU
Oh,
list.
that's what it was, a Michigan, yeah.
But when it comes to planting trees, we'd be planning to plant native trees.
All native trees and a variety of them, so we don't have the silver maple or the birch problem again.
And we have enough knowledge to know where to place them so that they're not interfering with the septic systems, right?
Correct, and
Or
we've built
sewer
a
systems.
great relationship with the local DNR agents, and they're more than willing to help us, and we've built up some great knowledge in our team through the tree ordinance, so, and Anthony's staff is phenomenal, so we're gonna, and Scott over at DPW, those guys are fantastic, so I think we've got a good plan moving forward.
Going forward, we don't want newly planted trees to ever mess with anybody's sewer system.
Right, absolutely.
Another thing is, we're going to continue fighting blight, correct? This does not stop us from fighting blight. It allows us to have more native plant gardens.
Correct.
And the city itself has an intent to plant more native plants and trees in our parks and on our properties.
Yep, I'm still working on more butterfly gardens myself, so hopefully we'll have more of those around the city.
I remember when you were telling me that one thing the city might do is just plant sunflower seeds even.
I'd still love to do that here along the walking path.
I like that idea, or let's have it be perennials that'll keep coming back every year.
Yep.
And help the pollinators and make the air smell better. Reduce the
Absolutely.
amount of runoff that sometimes floods people's houses. These are really great objectives. Thank you so much for tirelessly cooperating with what we're doing. I appreciate the whole city council for referring this matter to the Environmental Review Committee of the council. And thank you, Commissioner Gary Boyke and Commissioner Melody McGee for working with me, supporting me continuously. This has been so smooth and easy. And I really think that this is the new age of city government in Warren, where everybody can work together. The mayor worked with us. The Caitlin Murphy worked amazingly well with everybody, and I'm just so happy.
We had a really
basically.
good team. Yeah,
This is a dream come true for me, so thank you.
we had a really good team, and thank you for your support.
Okay. I yield for
Any
the moment.
other-
Don't get me started.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Sorry, Ms. Moore? Yes. Mr. Noonan?
Well, yes.
I went out of order. Thank you. Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 14A, request of the Parks and Recreation Director for an increase in budgeted revenues and appropriations in the amount of $47,358 to cover the costs associated with replacing 2 fuel dispensers and pedestals located at 32601 Warcop to upgrade the electrical power panel in the Transportation Building and to cover the costs for attending the Michigan Recreation and Parks Association Annual Conference and Trade Show. Consideration and adoption of a resolution. So moved.
Support Dwyer.
Discussion.
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. Noonan?
I noticed that item 14B is talking about the fuel dispensers, which were in 14A. And I'm just curious as to why there needed to be 2 notes on that?
Madam,
First one is transfer.
First one is transfer of funds. The second one is approving the item.
Ah.
So we have to transfer the funds and approve that before we can approve the item that will be
Thank you
spent.
much. Okay.
Any other discussion? Call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is request of the Parks and Recreation Department to award ITBW 1415 to furnish and install 2 fuel dispensers and pedestals to Oscar W. Larson Company in an amount not to exceed $29,382. Consideration and adoption of a resolution. So moved.
Support Dwyer.
Discussion. We'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is audience participation for general topics.
Members of the audience who would like to address the City Council this evening may do so by filling out an audience form located at the right side of the stage. You have 3 minutes. This audience is for general topics. Zaza Booker can go first. Then Ms. Harris, you'll go next. Go ahead.
Oh, hi, good evening. My name is Jaja Booker, and I'm a Warren resident, and I wanted to speak to you about my interest in the Crime Commission, the Warren Crime Commission. I wanted to talk a little bit about my background. I am, again, a Warren resident, a mom of a student in Fitzgerald School District, and I currently work at Wayne State. I have a degree in PhD in, educational statistics. Forgive me, I'm a little nervous. Educational statistics. And I've been working in higher ed for quite some time. I've also worked in the K through 12 sector. And I know you're probably thinking, well, why are you interested in the Crime Commission? I want to say that first, I see the correlation and the connection between our kids' education and our criminal justice system. And I just want to say that I definitely understand the value of education and the importance it plays on, you know, how our kids end up. And so I've been attending the Crime Commission meetings for several months now, and I enjoy the work that this commission does. I think it's very valuable and important to our community, and I would be honored to be a part of that team. I also want to talk about a little bit of my experience that I have, my background in forensic science. I do have a bachelor's in forensic science, and so I did at one time work with the Detroit Police Department in their firearm and bombing unit. And I work specifically with ballistics, and so I test fired weapons from crime scenes in Detroit. And so I do have experience working alongside law enforcement, and that's where I really gathered a lot of respect and admiration for the work that our law enforcement officers do. And so with that, that has really kind of guided my steps and helped me kind of find a fitting here. I'll be honest, I ran for school board back in this past election, and I didn't get it. But that opportunity or that experience led me to this opportunity to work with the Crime Commission. And so I just wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to let you know why I wanted to be a part of this, and just thank you and ask for your support, and just let you know that I would be honored to be a part of the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lori Harris.
I will say I'm a little disappointed. I wish that you'd asked more questions. I think because you all were at the Committee of the Whole meeting, you probably heard Ms. Fiddler say that she was going to be putting people at Mr. Deloach's shelter. She was paying him to take them. So I'm just confused. But I want to tell you what else I learned this week. I learned that the house next door to me, where they've been growing pot, is in foreclosure. I knew that. Here's what I learned by looking a little further, that the rental department, that the city for the last 3 years has taken him to court because he doesn't have a rental license. Okay, so he doesn't have a rental license, he has to go to court, he has to pay a fine. He hasn't paid his taxes, but he gets approved to have a rental. And he gets approved and to grow pot there. Tell me why this is happening in our city. This is very discouraging to go up. It's probably been 7 years. It's at least 6 years that I've wanted the city to be responsible and have pay attention to what's going on. So why are we allowing rentals when the taxes aren't paid? I'm sorry Mr. Mazzarelli left. But that is very discouraging that that's happening. I also want to know why no one took off the consent agenda the Animal Welfare Commission not having to record their meetings. I mean, why wouldn't they record their meetings? Don't we ask everyone else to record their meetings? No? Well, I think people would like to know what's going on in an Animal Welfare Commission meeting. There's no minutes. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the mayor. I'm disappointed in the constant feeding information of all the ways she's listening and all the ways that nothing's happening. That we don't have a city attorney, we have an acting city attorney. We don't have an HR department that's functional. We need an HR director. Not providing information about the commissioner hiring. I mean, these are big deals, and all we get is pictures of everything she does. So those are my comments. I'm a bit sad tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Margaret Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Lewis, and I'd like to express my interest in the Senior Health Care Commission. I've been a resident of District 2 for 15 years. Shout out to Councilman Lafferty. After 50 years of dedicated service to the people of the state of Michigan, I recently retired from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, where I managed a public welfare office in Wayne County. I oversaw the work of 86 employees, ensuring applications for public assistance programs such as medical assistance, food assistance, financial assistance, and emergency assistance were processed timely and accurately. Now that I have retired, I am seeking an opportunity to become more involved with and to serve my community. That's why I applied for a position with the Senior Healthcare Commission. I'd like to thank you in advance for your support of my nomination, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Wesley Arnold.
Good evening, our wonderful council. I am Professor Wesley Arnold, also known as the Warren Historian. Just a note from my observations of many years, I think this is the best Warren Council that we've ever had. And I witnessed this last week, councilmen and women took on their own time, met in special session, and helped to resolve our homeless problem here in the city. And I think that's just wonderful. I didn't see that kind of care happening in many past years, and thank you very much. Special shout out to Melody McGee, who's helped to resolve this Fitzgerald thug problem. Maybe that's the wrong word. Kids. One thing I just found out at our homeless meeting here Sunday, the man spoke and said that a lot of Fitzgerald kids are homeless. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, my main thing this evening is to announce that there is a new website in Warren, warrenmichigan.fyi, and that is important because the old guy that put that up has got a lot of valuable information on there. Just learned yesterday that HUD has got several million bucks that Warren might be able to use going through Macomb County Action, but then this morning's news is our Trumper has put a kibosh on that, at least temporarily. So heads up, Councilman Boyke, you were talking about grants and money. Hopefully Macomb Action is going to get some of those millions of dollars, and we can channel it to our Warren residents. So this website also has, because I'm a college professor, has a lot of good stuff about science and has some very, very valuable information. I've got 2 new FBI warnings on there that haven't hit the news. So it's warrenmichigan.fyi. Thank you very much for being our best Warren City Council ever. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of audience.
Next item is council response to audience. Madam Chair.
Ms. Moore.
I'd like to clarify the good government ordinance that requires it requires all commissions to record their meetings, and we put in that ordinance that if certain commissions wish to be exempted from recording their meetings, they could request that. And you know, we're really concerned with the commissions that spend and boards that spend large amounts of money, DDA, TIFA, you know, things like that. All of the commissions have to keep minutes, and all the minutes for all of the commissions and boards are to be kept by the clerk in the office, and those should be readily available. We've asked for all the minutes to also be put on the website so that anybody has access to the minutes of the commissions, and you can find out at least what action was taken. Some of the commissions are down to 2 members and 3 members, and they're stretched, and to add you know, the function of having to record and all that kind of thing, and download it and those kind of things, sophisticated things and technical things that some people might not have the ability to do. So some commissions have asked to be exempted, and we've approved those. So that's just to clarify. That is in the ordinance, the ability to ask for that. Thank you.
Anything further? Hearing none, next item.
So move to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.